following program features copyrighted material used under the Fair Use Law. This is an educational program focusing on the preservation of said media and is not an attempt to make a profit. We will now proceed with the program.
In August 1997, a new series was introduced in Kodansha's Comic Bonbon magazine. The series, titled Cyborg Kuro-chan, was an episodic action comedy series created by Naoki Okochi, about a house cat turned cyborg and the crazy characters he encounters. The series would become a hit with Japanese audiences throughout the late 90s and early 2000s, with its success spawning a toy line, video games, and more. At the height of its success, an anime series was put into production, eventually making its debut on the 2nd of October 1999. The anime was also a success, with its original planned 6-month run being extended until March 2001, with 66 half-hour episodes airing across Japanese TV channels. The show did end up falling into obscurity once it ended. However, there were problems behind the scenes that resulted in lost media, even before broadcasting ended. So today, we're going to talk about the lost content from the Cyborg Kuro-chan anime. During the anime's run, 3 soundtrack CDs were released to promote the show. The first featured extended versions of the anime's opening and ending, the second focused more on the show's background music, and the final release featured remix versions of previous songs. While all 3 releases have been uploaded online, there were some tracks excluded from these releases that are now unavailable. The first CD songs, which were extended versions of the opening and ending themes, were re-recorded for the CD and differed from the versions heard on TV. The TV instrumentals are missing from the release, and the only way to hear the original instrumentals are via short samples used during the anime sponsor screens. The vocal songs from the Encyclopedia CD, Kuro-chan Ondo and Nana's Love Song, were also never released as instrumentals. However, an instrumental version of Nana's song was used in the anime several times. The music encyclopedia included much of the anime's background music, but much of the music was never included and is now impossible to find isolated versions of them. There were also tracks that were only used once or twice in the entire series, which are also missing from the release. There's also missing tracks from the Gatling Mix CD. The instrumentals for the remix versions of Kuro and Nana's songs are also missing, as well as the instrumental for Para Para Kuro-chan, also known as Ending 2. Both the extended and TV versions of this track are missing in their instrumental forms. Some unreleased music has been found in rebroadcasts or international airings. The title card music can be reconstructed using audio from the Russian dub, and the next time music can be found in the Greek dub. The instrumental samples of the opening and ending are available through Japanese rebroadcasts, since they now lack the narrations that were present in the original broadcasts. So for now, a majority of the anime's soundtrack is still lost. It's possible that some tracks could be reconstructed using audio from different episodes, but that might only go so far. It's also important to note that composer Kei Wakakusa is a member of Imagine Music, so it may be possible to get some leads from there. However, you'd probably need to be within Japan based on the contact info on the website, which is kind of awkward to say the least. Anyway, moving on. Between March and December 2000, 19 VHS tapes of the anime were released. The first 9 releases were of episodes 1 to 26, and the next 9, known as Cyborg Kuro-chan Great, were of episodes 27 to 53. The 19th tape, titled Cyborg Kuro-chan Encyclopedia, was an OVA clip show meant as a way to introduce viewers to the anime. It's believed that a second OVA was either planned for a release, or was released in limited quantities. In 2019, Twitter user Tattoo Ziho posted images from a listing of 2 tickets.
It seems to be an application ticket attached to the VHS commercial version of Cyborg Kuro-chan. I'm curious about the Cyborg Kuro-chan Special Weapon Collection video. I wonder if it really exists, as it was released just before Public and Basic went bankrupt. As you can see, this was a campaign paper. It was also enclosed in the figures of the CDs. The campaign lasted until October 14th, 2000, just before P-Buy went bankrupt. So I don't know if the VHS was actually distributed. Its existence is unknown, and very interesting.
For a while, this was the only info we had on the release. But after I acquired the other VHS tapes, I found something which shed some light on the promotion.
全国6000万人のクロちゃんファンの皆様、大変長らくお待たせいたしました。ついにクロちゃんのビデオが発売されるぞ。しかも特製トレカのおまけ付き。さらに全9巻の応募券を集めてハガキを送るとオリジナルビデオを応募者全員にプレゼント。朝学校に行く前、学校から帰ってきてもクロちゃんが見られるなんて最高にハッピー。全9巻をゲットしよう。
The VHS promos and the photos of the tickets are currently the only information we have on the second OVA. And if it was released, its limited release makes it one of the rarest pieces of lost media from the series. From October 1999 until March 2001, Kodansha published promotional art to the anime in their TV magazine. Each piece was based on an episode airing that month, and were released exclusively in each issue. Of the 18 pieces released across the issues, only the art from the 2001 issues have been scanned and shared online. Based on the ones that do exist, we can assume that these paintings were done early on in the episode's production. The one for episode 63, for example, features a completely different location to the one seen in the final episode. Right, I knew something like this would happen. Basically, we've got a little update. Another one of the pieces of artwork has been found. The artwork from the March 2000 issue of TV Magazine. This one focuses on episode 19, and someone on Twitter shared it. They haven't shared a scan, but they have shared a picture, and yeah, it's progress at least. So yeah, just thought I'd add that. So yeah, let's move on. During its run, many commercials and promos for the anime were aired on Japanese TV. Unfortunately, it ended up just like most programming aired in between shows, because a majority of it is now lost to the sands of time. Some were included in the anime's VHS releases, and a handful have surfaced through TV recordings. One thing that's important to note is that the commercial aired to promote the show before broadcast is one of the several missing pieces. These are important parts of the show's history, so it's kind of sad to see that this one's lost media. Like most commercials, They were most likely shelved once they became irrelevant, but it's possible that some may surface through TV recordings. But since it's over 20 years since the anime ended, it's likely that said content will become rarer and harder to come by as more time passes on. It's possible, though, that a majority of the commercials could have survived if it wasn't for the anime's sudden demise. On the 6th of January 2001, episode 66 of the anime would air across TV Aichi affiliated channels. Little did people know, it would be the last new episode to air. In January 2001, producers Public and Basic cancelled production and later shut down after a company bankruptcy. They were a smaller, lesser known company, involved with a few productions of TV anime. Cyborg Kuro-chan was debatably their most successful production, and it seems like there were many issues during production involving their finances. Most of this information comes from a blog post about Ichizo Kobayashi, who worked as an animation director on many episodes. It's unknown if these words came from Kobayashi, or if they were written by someone on his behalf.
I was in charge of OP80, original drawing, and as an animation director for Cyborg Kuro-chan, which aired on TV Tokyo. At first, I was only in charge of the A part, but a newcomer Mr. E, who was the head of the manga club in high school and was really good at drawing, helped me out, and I was able to do both the A and B parts. In January 2001, after 66 episodes, the parent company, Studio Boggy and Public and Basic went bankrupt. The reason why Studio Boggy and Public and Basic ended up with 600 million yen in debt just for producing animation is because they released a game for the Cyborg Kuro-chan, sold toys that move and fight with a motor and remote control, and produced an OVA of Cyborg Kuro-chan. All of them failed to sell. It costs about 10 million yen to make a half-hour anime, and there is no way that commercials alone can make up the difference. TV commercials are paid according to viewership ratings, and there is no way that early morning or late night anime can generate viewership ratings.
From the little we know, it's assumed that Public and Basic were overly ambitious and optimistic about the show's success. An archive of a message board from May 2000 gives us an idea how some of the staff viewed the show and its success.
Nice to meet you. I'm a Kuro anime official. Since there was a topic about the last episode, I would like to give you the correct information. TV animations are usually aired in 6-month units. Kuro-chan started in October last year and has been extended from this April to September this year for a total of 53 episodes. Thanks to you, the last episode of the Otherworld version recorded the highest rating ever, 8.3%. This is a groundbreaking figure for this time slot. We are now in the process of re-extending the show in October. In order to increase the ratings, we need your support and help to make this show a long-term hit, like Doraemon and Pokemon. Thank you for your support.
With these two pieces of evidence, it seems like PB were banking on the show's success way too much. The quote about the show becoming as big as Doraemon sums it up perfectly, as that show was way more popular and was safe to air without its productions collapsing under the weight of their own success. Even with its 2 production extensions, they couldn't keep up with more successful anime, and even when signs of its decline started to show, such as neglecting to produce new commercials and corners being cut in the animation, they continued to dig themselves into an even bigger hole. They also seem to have brought down Studio Bogey. Bogey were involved with most of PB's productions, so it's safe to assume that they were collaborators during that time. Bogey apparently went under around the same time as PB too, so it's possible that something happened with the 2 companies that caused Bogey to go down with PB. There's another interesting quote from animation director Higashida from the May 2000 message board, suggesting that there may have been some conflicts with the companies behind the scenes.
I'm glad for you all. If it lasts long enough, there may be room for us to come back. There is a statute of limitations on crimes, and there is also the possibility of amnesty. It makes me sad to write this. I'm very sorry for the inconvenience caused by the production company. Please continue to make fun films for the fans of the Kuro anime.
With Kobayashi mentioning the issues with money, maybe this was the reason Higashida left production. And maybe this is why Studio Bogi shut down around the same time. Maybe they ended up not receiving the money as well. TV Aichi, who were involved with the broadcasting side of production, most likely only have the episodes in their archives. It is possible that other content such as commercials and promos disappeared after the company shut down, possibly being destroyed or discarded. Another issue caused by the bankruptcy was the distribution of the series in Japan. Since its end, the series has only been made available through TV airings and limited distribution through streaming services like Amazon Prime and Anime D. But before these distributions, many of the show's episodes were impossible to find online. Due to the bankruptcy, only episodes 1 to 53 saw a home media release in Japan, and for a while, a bunch of episodes were only available through TV recordings. Also, a bunch of episodes did exist as recordings, but were incomplete, and some just weren't available in Japanese. There was hope that these episodes would be found when TV Aichi rebroadcast the series in 2010. However, they ceased broadcasting after episode 49 had aired, most likely due to the destruction seen in episode 50 being somewhat reminiscent of the March Tohoku earthquake. And then in 2014, ATX began airing the anime, and with no huge national disasters to halt the broadcasts, the last episodes aired as planned, and were shared online in high quality in 2016. Unfortunately, these uploads had to be removed, but Mondo TV, the European distributors, posted the entire series on YouTube in 2018. Episode 66, however, was the most sought after piece from the anime, as it had never aired outside of Japan, and only existed in the form of promos at the end of dubbed versions of episode 65. The first time the episode was seen online was via a Nico Nico upload from 2007. Unfortunately, the recording cuts off a few seconds in. In 2009, an original broadcast of episode 65 was shared on YouTube, with the full promo for episode 66 being left intact. This was all that was available for the longest time, but then, on the 2nd of April 2016, ATX aired the episode, making it the first time it had aired on TV, since its initial broadcast on the 6th of January 2001. It was weird, however, that the episode never saw the light of day outside of Japan, despite some foreign broadcasts of 65 leaving the promo intact. It's possible that due to it airing after the bankruptcy, the episode is in some sort of legal limbo, with only the Japanese companies, TV Aichi and Kodansha, owning the rights to it. There are believed to be 3 different versions of episode 66. The most common version appeared in recent TV airings and streaming releases, and cuts the ending dialogue from the narrator. A goodbye screen is also added before the credits roll. Another version, which aired as a part of the show's original run, also cuts the ending, but lacks the goodbye message. The credits are then followed by a promo for Cyborg Kuro-chan Selection, which was a series of rebroadcasts made to fill the holes in the time slot caused by the bankruptcy. There's also a third unconfirmed version, which keeps the original dialogue intact, as well as the promo for episode 67 that would have followed the credits. This version was rumoured to have aired in only some regions of Japan, but since no footage of it exists, it's impossible to confirm if the promo aired or not. Episode 67, A Mysterious Yeti Appears, was planned to air on the 13th of January 2001. The plot for this episode is unknown, but we do have some findings which reveal aspects of the story. Most of the info we have on this episode comes from model sheets which have been sold online. I was able to buy a set of model sheets back in February 2020, which helped shed some light on the episode's plot and cast. Based on the model sheets, we know that Kuro, Mii, Dr. Go and Suzuki would have been a part of the main cast, and Kazuma, Yoshino, Chieko, Yuta, Koji, Yusuke, Teppe and Kyoko would be appearing as side characters. 4 new characters would be appearing in this episode. 2 different types of Yeti, one being a leader and the other being a more generic type, and a group of ants who would be hiding in the Yeti's fur at some point in the episode. A queen and some worker ants would have appeared in the episode. Some more information from these model sheets include there being a snowball fight between Suzuki's students, them appearing in both their normal and gym clothes, Dr. Go wearing his armour outfit from episode 36, Mii using his jetpack, Suzuki wearing his pyjamas from episode 64, as well as a new winter-themed outfit. There's also a repurposed layout drawing from episode 17, suggesting that a scene of the Fuji house interior with the kotatsu would have been included. It's possible Jisan, Barsan and Matatabi would have appeared since they were in the drawing, but since it's just a repurposed drawing, we can't really confirm their appearance in the episode. There's some additional info in the February 2001 Kodansha TV magazine, with a small bubble to the left of the page about the Yeti. Kuro-chan's new friend. He lives in a cave in the mountains behind Sakuramachi Elementary School. He emits destructive rays from his eyes. Regardless of if it made it to TV or not, a version of episode 66 was most likely put together with the promo for 67 intact. Based on this, it's likely that the episode was close to being completed, most likely being in the audio mixing stages before its fate was sealed, but that's just a guesstimate. The majority of animated productions will have the voices recorded before the main animation begins. But most anime, or shows that use lip flaps instead of lip syncing, will have the voices recorded after the animation and even the audio track have been completed. Cyborg Kuro-chan was one of these series, which we know based on the information on the next Lost episode. Episode 68, known as Rival of Kotaro, planned to air on the 20th of January 2001. Most of the information on this episode comes from a blog post and the previously mentioned promotional art. In January 2016, voice actress Makiko Omoto, who provided the voice for Matatabi, made a post on her blog detailing an event held on the 23rd to celebrate the release of the new edition of the manga. During the event, she met up with series director Yoshihiro Takamoto, Kuro's voice actress Chika Sakamoto, and Dr. Go's voice actor Toru Furusawa.
In the second half of January, there was an event to celebrate the publication of a new edition of a work I was involved with a long time ago called Cyborg Kuro-chan. Kuro-chan is a cyborg plant cat. I play Matatabi, Kuro's childhood friend and rival. It's been a long time since I had the pleasure of performing. I heard that it will be broadcast on the internet later. Even the director at the time was there as a guest, and for the first time, the actors were able to see storyboards, character charts, and the fantastic script for episode 68, which they had never seen before.
Omoto provided an image of the script cover, which includes the episode title, the A/R, which I assume was the planned recording date, and the scheduled air date. I remember asking her at the time if she could reveal the contents of the script, and I got a response saying something along the lines of she couldn't because of copyright reasons. I can't remember exactly what she said. It was something like that though. The promotional art includes a more in-depth look at the episode. First, there's a plot summary which reads: at the site of the robotics competition for boys, the Dosakoi robot created by inventive genius Kintaro suddenly starts to act up. It was manipulated by Kintaro, who had a grudge against the tournament. As the crowd panicked, the Dosakoi robot became huge and flew out of town. Kuro-chan confronts him with a Gatling gun. The main cast for this episode would have been Kuro and Kotaro, who are mentioned in the magazine. While not being mentioned, Dr. Go and Mii most likely would have appeared too, since they almost always appear alongside Kotaro. The side characters we know of are all new ones. The main one is Kintaro, who is described in the magazine as a boy genius who uses computers to build robots. Based on the plot info and his design, Kintaro would have most likely had a bit of an ego, and possibly cheated in the competition. 2 new robot characters would be appearing in the episode too. The first being a robot made by Kotaro, known as Super Kotaro-kun 1, who was most likely the robot he made for the competition. Described as Kintaro's rival, a robot created by Kotaro. He flies into the sky to save Kuro-chan. We also have Kintaro's robot, the Dosokoi robot, who is shown to have 2 forms. The first Dosokoi robot was smaller than Kuro-chan, but its punches were powerful enough to shatter a stone wall. Small, but strong. And then there's the giant Dosokoi robot. There's a cockpit in the belly of the Dosokoi robot. There's also an escape mechanism in case of trouble. Episode 69 was known as Kintaro's Revenge, and was going to air on the 27th of January 2001. With this being the second part to episode 68, it's most likely that part 1 would have focused more on setting up the story, as well as showing more of the competition, with part 2 focusing more on developing the conflict with Kintaro. Even the title suggests this in a way, with a more threatening title compared to the previous episode. We also know that Kintaro would have befriended Kuro and friends by the end of the episode, based on some info we'll discuss later. The giant Dosokoi robot has started to destroy the city. Its arms are full of power. It'll even repel a Gatling gun. Speaking of the Dosokoi robot, Pico from the Cyborg Kuro-chan Discord server brought up the theory that Kintaro and his creations were based on a character from Japanese folktales.
Kintaro, like Kaguya, is the name of a major character in the Japanese folk tales. He was a real person in history, and there are anecdotes about him being so monstrously strong that he could sumo wrestle bears and other beasts. From there is probably a setting where he rides a robot with the name Dosukoi, a sumo shout.
Being a follow-up to 68, we can assume that the cast would have mostly been the same. Episode 70, Cosplay Girl Kaguya, was going to air on the 3rd of February 2001. Episode 70 was promoted in the March 2001 issue of Kodansha TV magazine. Kintaro's sister mistook Kuro-chan and Mikun for villains of a game. She also became Kaguya, the hero of the game, and attacked them. Kuro-chan and the others are also transformed into their villainous outfits, and it was a big battle. The piece is also labelled as Extra Special Edition, a special introduction to Kuro's big battle, which is not shown on TV. Interesting that they acknowledge this being an unaired episode this time. From the magazine, we know that Kuro, Mii, Nana, Dr. Go, Kotaro, Kintaro, and new character Kaguya would have appeared. Kaguya would have been Kintaro's sister, and appears to have been obsessed with an in-universe game. A righteous female protagonist. A stick gun is her weapon. Her clothes bounce back bullets. Kintaro's sister is in disguise. It's possible that Kaguya isn't even her real name, with the summary mentioning she becomes Kaguya. However, this could be a translation quirk, or maybe her real name is Kaguya, and just happens to share the name with the character she's cosplaying as. She also appears to travel in a saucer that Kintaro built for her. Kaguya landed in front of Gokun's house, from the saucer created by Kintaro. The battle has begun. It is mentioned that other characters would have dressed up as characters from the game, however only Kuro and Mii's costumes are shown. Kuro is dressed up as Nyanko Majin, a boss character in the game. If you lose in the final sewer showdown, the game is over. Kuro-chan is transforming into this character. Mii is dressed up as Dummy Majin, a hidden character that appears in the sewers at the final stage of the game. He is as strong as Nyanko Majin, Mi-kun is in disguise. Kuro and Mi's outfits, and even the names of the characters they're cosplaying as, are very similar, suggesting that maybe the in-game characters are connected in some way. Like with Kintaro, it's possible that Kaguya also took inspiration from another Japanese tale.
The tale of Princess Kaguya is called the oldest science fiction novel in Japan. I am also familiar with it, having read it in picture books in the past and seen it in Ghibli animation. There is an urban legend that the truth of this folktale is that a UFO landed in Japan around 700 AD, depicted an interaction with aliens. I guess that's how they came up with the idea of Kaguya coming down from a saucer as well.
Did You Become a Devil, Gokun was going to air on the 10th of February 2001. Wikipedia includes info that the episode's storyboards were completed before the bankruptcy. There is very little information on this episode, with the title being all that we know. We know that Kuro and Dr. Go would have appeared, and maybe Mi and Kotaro too, since they almost always appear alongside Go. The title suggests that maybe the devil from episodes 12, 41 and 42 would have returned and possessed Go like he did in episode 12. Or maybe it would have been related to Go going back to his world domination plans. I guess we'll never know. The sudden shutdown of PB and Studio Bogi not only impacted the planned airings of the show, but also future releases of the series. As of 2022, the anime is yet to see a full home media release in Japan. Contents of the unaired episodes are most likely being held back from release due to legal loopholes, such as non-disclosure agreements, and due to the owner of the material technically no longer existing. The lack of information that's gotten out on the lost episodes has most likely been due to many factors, from the previously mentioned legal issues to the general secrecy of what goes on behind the scenes of most anime. And with this being a 20-year-old production, it's very unlikely that most of this stuff still exists. And if it does, it's probably being kept away from the public. With lost media, you have to be optimistic about these kind of things. Hey, for years I always assumed that the only things we'd have for the lost episodes were the titles. But now we have paperwork and even some plot summaries for a couple of them. Yeah, stuff like this will become less and less likely to show up as time passes. Even some of the older stuff I mentioned, like the commercials and the music. But you never know what might happen, which is why I love being a part of this community. Anyways, this was Devo, and stay fresh, cheese bags.